Welcome to the Fourth Branch program, the place for common sense. Today is Thursday, August 8, 2019. I am MD. In discussion today is kind of a familiar topic, lying. But we are going to take a look at lying through a different prism. In 1933, Adolf Hitler says, if you tell a big enough lie and tell it frequently enough, it will be believed. Adolf Hitler said, if you tell a big enough lie and tell it frequently enough, it will be believed. That should sound familiar, doesn't it? Well, it should. Because today, we are living in an era in which lies supplant truth, facts. Lies are repeated so often by so many people of a very specific political party that it has become almost impossible for the average individual, even those who are genuine about trying to figure out really the state of affairs in the country, as to whom is speaking the truth. In other words, lying is a problem for any society, for our society. Contrary to Adolf Hitler, FDR said that a repetition does not transform a lie into the truth. See the contrast? In 60 seconds, we will debate this particular topic through the prism of common sense. If you join us before, thank you. You make the journey a little bit lighter, a tad more bearable. If you join us for the first time, welcome. The Fourth Branch program is not associated with any political party, and we at the Fourth Branch do not have any political agenda or aspiration. Our ultimate objective is to perfect the union, and in order to do so, we ought to remove the biggest obstacle of all: ignorance. JFK said that the ignorance of one voter in a democracy impairs the security of us all. Thus, the importance of eradicating ignorance from our society. we do find a very strong bond, a very strong relation in any community, in any society, between ignorance and lies. No, that's not a mistake. There is a very strong relation between the ignorance of a community, a society, a state even, a country probably, and how its leaders have spread lies and deception. The biggest threat to any democracy is ignorance. Now, Abraham Lincoln did feel that no matter how frequently someone, a leader, would try to deceive its people, there will be a time when there would be an end to that. Abraham Lincoln said, you can fool all the people some of the time and some of the people all the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. Now, all that is fine and dandy, and we too are optimistic that at some point the country, at least the majority of the residents of the country, would have the opportunity to be able to look at their leaders, whether they belong to the Democrat Party or the Republican Party, and be able to determine as to which leaders are beneficial for the country, which leaders are detrimental to the country, and which leaders they ought to get rid of. We will be talking about how devastating lying can be. And one thing I have to say up front is it's not a predicament the country has found itself in under the current administration. And I will explain shortly. Because of lies that have propagated through this society, America is going through a period of crisis, and it is not small. I will show how devastating it is, and of course, as usual, here in this program, we don't just talk about a particular thing for the sake of talking about it, but at the very least, we will explore a solution, or we will propose something, anything. And we mentioned before, we do not hold the key to the best solution or to every solution, but we try our best to propose something, anything. And those who are in a position to implement solution can take it from there or come up with their own. But the idea is to debate the problem, to discuss the problem, to point fingers to the culprits, and ultimately to explore a solution. And I'm going to show you as to how devastating, how very devastating lying is in just a moment. Live from New York City at the top of the hour, every weekday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
The fourth branch presents discussions, debates, commentaries on social political issues, current events, sports, entertainment, religion, education, science, and every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. for a full presentation on controversial issues such as abortion, homosexuality, war on blacks. Are Republicans dumber than Democrats? Information which might irritate you, make you cry, make you laugh, but above all, will make you smarter. Join us every time. It is the right thing to do. It is the only way to keep your sanity in a world of chaos, hypocrisy, immorality, and deception. Welcome to Common Sense.
A few days ago, the country was on edge. The reason, hours apart from one another, two mass shootings occurred. One in El Paso, Texas, claiming the lives so far of 22 people and injuring 26. In Dayton, Ohio, another mass shooting claiming the lives of 8 people plus the gunman and injuring 19 people. Now, of course, the discussion is about gun, right? Because those two mass shootings were the result of individuals in possession of semi-automatic and automatic weapon and decided to do the unthinkable. So all argument, all discussion gear towards gun control. I did chime in on that very topic, and I did talk about it for 3 days during the time we were debating mass shooting in America. So yes, guns, automatic, semi-automatic weapons are part of the problem. Notwithstanding the fact that gun manufacturers have been trying as best as humanly possible to prevent any legislator, mostly Republicans I might add, and this is not an opinion. Since 1999, Republicans have always, and read always, not sometime, not maybe, not at time, have always opposed any kind of legislation to limit the type of weapons that individuals would have access to. Which means from 1999, which was when the first major mass shooting in modern time occurred, Columbine, Republicans have always stood in the way of anything being done to prevent the next mass shooting and the next mass shooting and the next mass shooting. As such, the country has been piling up bodies, generations of people being slaughtered, massacred in mass shooting. But every time it happened, your Republican legislators come and give you a reason for not doing anything to prevent the next mass shooting. For a very long time, the argument was our Second Amendment right ought not to be touched. The Constitution gives us the right to bear arms. So those damn Democrats that are trying to take your weapon away from you, you should not accept that. Of course they lied to you because they know what they were saying is not true. They know the point of limiting automatic and semi-automatic weapon from being accessible by regular individual does not in any way, shape, or form do anything to your right to bear arms. But they lied to you. So they kept that lie for a very long time. Now, I want you to pay close attention because people don't lie just for the sake of lying. They lie because it benefits them. They lie because they get something out of it. Sometimes you can clearly see it. It's pretty obvious. Other times you have to know the background of the story in order to understand what they're getting out of it. But you have to ask yourself the question, if you are a patriot, you are a concerned citizen, you are concerned about your children when they go to places like to dancing, to the store, to wherever, and not to be a victim of mass shooting, then it is important for you to, regardless of your political party, to pay close attention. Because Republican legislators do not give a hoot about who get killed, because they benefit of something. And notice I said since 1999, this is 2019, for 2 decades, Republican legislators exclusively have done everything that they can to prevent any type of legislation from ever banning automatic or semi-automatic weapon from a regular individual. But you know what's even worse? We continue in the conversation, but I have to update you on this matter. Under the current administration, there were, from the previous administration, guidelines to prevent mentally ill people, to prevent people with some sort of record from getting access to those weapons. Guess what? And this is no joke. Today, even a mentally ill individual can have access to weapon. Yes, you heard correctly. The current administration, the Trump administration, now makes it possible that people with mental illness, and I'm not kidding you, I'm not joking, it is now part of the regulation that even mentally ill people can now have access to weapons. So your Republican legislators say that they're protecting your Second Amendment right. And sadly, millions of people believe it, so they oppose any kind of regulation on automatic and semi-automatic weapons. In fact, Republicans were so good at that kind of message that under the Obama administration, when Obama was elected, before he even took an oath of office, sales of weapons and ammunition skyrocketed because Obama was going to take away your guns. Did he? As I mentioned earlier, this lying about gun control predates Donald Trump. I am going to read you an excerpt of an article that I published in April 20th, 2015. Donald Trump did not even announce his intention to bid for the presidency yet. Just to give you a sense as to that very fact. So that's what your Republican legislators say as the reason for not doing anything, no matter how many people lost their lives in mass shooting. Because you know those Democrats, they trying to take away your guns. They trying to remove the rights to bear arms from the Constitution. Now, if you think about it clearly, Republicans do not care about the Constitution. We know that. How can we possibly know that? We're watching them for the past 2 years, how they shred the Constitution. The legislative branch is to exercise oversight on the executive branch. For 2 years, Republicans were fully in control of both houses. Did they exercise any oversight? Did you see them exercise any oversight? Those are not opinion of a damn liberal. Those are facts that we've been watching how the United States of America, the erosion of our democracy. We do not have any stake on any political party here. Our main goal, our main purpose is to expose those who lied to people to elect them in office, and once they're there, they do not the job for which they were elected. And that's the job we do here. Expose those individuals. What you do with that now, before I continue the conversation and show you how much your Republican legislators have been lying to you, let me read an article again that was published on April 20th, 2015. I'm just going to read a portion of it, not the whole thing. Now, there are 3 parts to the article. And I'm going to read a section of part 1. I encourage you to go to the peoplebranch.org and search for the title Lie to Me, search for Fox News, or anything, any combination of those words, you'll be able to find any of those articles. And if you start with the part 1, you don't have to worry about part 2 and part 3, because there are links in part 1 that takes you to part 2 and links in part 2 that takes you to part 3. So, Lie to Me, that's the title of the article. And when I wrote that article, it's after years of listening to and observing a network made for one objective, one purpose, to make money. News was never part of the calculation. In fact, I talked in great detail about that when I made an actual documentary about Fox News. I always refer to as Fox opinion, known and referred to by most as Fox News, because it is already determined that Fox is not a news organization. It is not a news network. It is a network that uses the word news in order to masquerade and try to shift people's opinion by doing one thing and one thing alone: lying. And that's the reason that I decided at that time to write a 3-part article in order to bring that forth for those who care to know, for those who care to listen. So let me read a portion of it. Lying is a conundrum. It's not nearly as black and white. It is very complex, no matter how simple the scenario is. We lie to get out of unwanted situation, or whatever society dictates as unwanted, unacceptable, or wrong. We lie to get rid of someone. We lie to have someone punished. We lie to get ahead. We lie to look better. We lie to look better than the other or the others. We lie all the time. We even came up with qualifier for lie. White lie to mean it's not really that big of a deal. We lie, well, because we just can't help it. Even those who profess to abide by the truth, we're referring here to evangelical Christian conservative. Even those who profess to abide by the truth are usually the most unsuspected liars. They hide behind religious principle that to lie is a sin. And yet, they lie every opportunity they have. Lying is embraced, appreciated, and even revered. Fox opinion, known and referred to by most as Fox News, has always understood that. You would be hard-pressed to find a host at Fox who says anything true, although that's beginning to change, of course. And yet, for the past decade, Fox opinion has occupied the top post in viewership in the country. You see, we don't just lie. We also like to be lied to. But there is only one requirement. We just don't want to know that you are lying to us. We don't want you to tell us you are lying to us. That's the only requirement. And in that, Fox has been excellent at this job. I wouldn't care if people lie and others just believe the lies that they tell. No, nobody should. But what if lying is actually not just a small thing? What if lying destroys a society? And in fact it does. That's the reason Adolf Hitler embraced lying as its mantra. If you tell a big enough lie and tell it frequently enough, it will be believed. If you tell a big enough lie and tell it frequently enough, it will be believed. If you tell a big enough lie and tell it frequently enough, it will be believed. During the Obama tenure, Fox and people invalidated Fox repeated 1,000 times that Obama was not born in the United States of America. More than 53% of Republicans believed that was the case. Even when Obama exited the Oval Office, there were still 23% of Republicans who continued to believe Obama was not born in the United States of America. Courtesy of Fox, calling itself a news organization. Now we'll continue this conversation by showing you how damaging lie can be. Now you already start getting a sense as to where I'm going with this conversation. Lying is not just that. It doesn't just stay there. Now we joke all the time that all politicians lie. Now every politician would tell a lie every now and then. That's almost a given. Especially when cornered about something that he or she said prior and that happened to be evident that's not true. So the politician will try to get out of that predicament, and to do so would usually lie. Now those are not acceptable but understandable. We are actually talking about lies that destroy lives, that can even destroy a society. Deliberate lies. Lies that have caused damages to our society. It is already bad if you lie about something and then someone else suffer the consequences. It's already bad, and you most likely would feel bad about it because you didn't mean for that to happen. But what happens when it is deliberate? When someone decides that's exactly what I am going to do. That is important to know how we deal with that.
In 1996, a small network by the name of Fox News was launched with just 17 million viewers. Today, with over 100 million people watching regularly, Fox has become the greatest threat to our democracy, constantly bombarding the airwaves with false information, distortion of facts, and outright lies presented to its audience as news. Fox has created an army of blissful ignorance. According to a survey, 82% of Fox viewers are ignorant of facts and the truth. To keep millions of people in ignorance not only prevents democracy from flourishing, but it also clears the path to authoritarianism, to dictatorship. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." Let me finish by saying that democracy cannot survive in an environment where truth and facts
do not matter. At Fox, truth and facts do not matter. Indeed, democracy in America is in jeopardy. It is a crisis the country can no longer ignore. In 2001, 2003, a New York Times journalist by the name of Judith Miller. That name should be familiar, but if you're not in the business of news, then maybe not. And besides, it's been a long time. 2003, 16 years later. That may not mean anything to you. Judith Miller was a very well-known journalist with a lot of years under her belt, but most importantly, if I'm not mistaken, she also was honored for her reporting. So because of that, obviously, and just like it is today, if Wolf Blitzer were to say something, and that's something that's untrue, it will become news. And so on and so forth. But you would notice one thing, and I guarantee you to take me on this challenge. No matter how many times lies are said on Fox, people mention it, talk about it as, oh, here we go again. But it's not news. It's not newsworthy because, well, that's what Fox does. So when you hear lies at Fox, it's not one of those things, whoa! You don't get surprised, you don't get shocked because you expected. In fact, interestingly enough, if something true is said at Fox, it becomes news. This is the society we live in, where a network that's called itself news, Fox News, when something true is said in that network, it becomes news. And the reason is because there is no truth at Fox. And this is not, and that should not be news to anyone living in the United States of America. Whether you're a Fox viewer or not, that should be common knowledge. A network that's called itself news, and yet, when something that is true is aired at Fox, it becomes news. Now, I said all that to make an important point about how devastating lying can be. So Judith Miller was a respected journalist, and as the George W. Bush administration was beating the drum of war, looking for every place, every way to convince the general public that we have to go to war with Iraq. You remember that? Maybe you don't, but that's not relevant to the story. We did go to war in Iraq in 2003 with Iraq. So, because it was necessary to convince the public, as you might know, there are a lot of Democrats who oppose the idea of going to war with Iraq, because Iraq was not responsible for the 9/11. It was determined Fingers were pointed directly to bin Laden in Afghanistan, and war in Afghanistan already over very quickly. But the warmongers in the Bush administration wanted to continue the war journey, so they needed everything possible to give them that opportunity. And finally, they got in Judith Miller, a willing participant. Remember I mentioned she was known and respected as a journalist. And she published a bogus story about Saddam Hussein having weapon of mass destruction. Exactly what the Bush administration was hoping for, exactly what the Bush administration was waiting for. Finally, someone respected in the publication community, working for a respected medium, New York Times, and put her name behind a story that Saddam Hussein had weapon of mass destruction. And we went to war. 4,500 American soldiers lost their lives, 31,000 injured, over $1 trillion spent of taxpayers' money. On the Iraq side, more than 500,000 people lost, civilian, not military, not armed personnel. 405,000 people, civilian, lost their lives in the Iraq side, all because of a lie. Yes, Judith Miller knew that was not true. She was a well-known journalist responsible for her reporting. She knows it was bogus information she was putting on a newspaper, and she put her name behind it. 4,500 American soldiers lost their lives, 31,000 were injured, some lost their limbs forever, not counting more psychological trauma, not counting the amount of money that we the taxpayers had to spend, not counting the number of Iraqis who lost their lives, not counting the million of Iraqis who were displaced by that war. Yes, to lie is devastating. When someone deliberately lies, yes, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to see the devastation of lies, but at times it is pretty quick. So when you hear that the individual sitting in the Oval Office make it a business to lie to the American people and you shrug it off as if it's nothing, you are no better than individuals who are committing mass murders. Yes, you may not take the weapon yourself, but you're encouraging it happening. Judith Miller could not possibly be taken and say, you killed those soldiers, you injured the soldier, you killed all those Iraqis, you spent all those taxpayers' money. We could not possibly put that on her directly, but she is responsible for it. That's what lies, deliberate lies, do to our society. If you feel comfortable about your president, and I said your because I do not consider Donald Trump as a president. It so happened that he has the title, unfortunately, but he has nothing that claim that would make him a president. He doesn't have the qualification, and he doesn't have anything that even after being elected for anyone to say, well, you know what, he was an asshole, but I'm glad he became president. He lied and continued to lie to no end. lying is devastating. But what is even more sad than everything that I just mentioned is the fact that Donald Trump is just one of many. As I just read to you an article that was published before Donald Trump time. You have a network which makes a living on lying to people, to its audience. When the network was created, Roger Ailes made it his business that people that he hired understand this is a business first, not a news organization. Which means we in this business to make money. News happen to be, well, something we say we do. Yes, that's part of Fox Network. It was not built to give news. It was built to make money by any means necessary. Destroying the nation, so what? They're making money. Making everybody that listen to Fox become as dumb, as ignorant, so what? We're making money. Lies destroy society. Lies are not useful to anyone. Deliberate lies are dangerous. And even up to today, we have the executive management at Fox tolerating people lying continuously to the audience. And the reason that they cannot get away with it, the reason they cannot get out of it is because, well, it brings money. To hell with society. So what? They are dumb. They are making money. They still occupy for 2 decades the top viewership in the nation. Because as I wrote, we just like to be lied to. Roger Ailes understood that, and he gave to those individuals exactly what they want. A network that would lie to them continuously, constantly, about everything. Even my fellow Republican I converse with sometimes, who say, oh, I don't listen to Fox because I know they lie, and yet throughout our conversation, they using every talking point on Fox to have that conversation, which means they lie about lying that they listen to Fox and continue to listen to Fox. I'm not even sure I understand why they have to lie about that, because they continue to listen to, they continue to absorb. They're ashamed that's the case, because nobody would accept the fact that you watch a network that lies to you constantly, continuously about everything. So they ashamed that they continue to watch that network. So in order for them to look good, they lie about that too. Now this is not where my problem is, of people who lie and like to be lied to, people who lie about lying. That's not really where my problem is. My problem in this predicament we're in is the fact that lying is dangerous. Deliberate lie. We're not talking about someone who lied to get out of a situation. Not that it's okay. I grew up in an environment where I was taught to face the music no matter how bad things were. Because it would be worse if my parents were to find out that I lie about something that I was supposed to tell the truth about. So it always irks me whenever I see that not only you have a network which call itself news, lying to its audience, not by accident, because all news networks make mistakes. We're not talking about mistakes here. We're not talking about a network or a newspaper that published something, it's a mistake, it's an oversight, and they correct it the next day. Or sometimes pretty quickly, as a matter of fact. I watched Anchor while they on the air talking about something, they made a mistake, and when they come back from a commercial, they correct that mistake. That's a mistake. Now, of course, it lies when you look at it from the original perspective, as if the person meant to lie. It was a mistake because the person realized that and then come back and correct it. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a network that deliberately, this is what they do. They lie to the audience. And they make no qualm about that. Let me show you. Tucker Carlson yesterday going into a rampage of talking about how much of a hoax the white nationalist conversation, the white supremacist conversation is. Now, I'm gonna let you listen to it, and and the question I want you to have before you listen to it is, don't we have that problem in the nation? White nationalists, white supremacists. Not too long ago, in Charlottesville, Virginia, we had a march of white nationalists, which, by the way, both Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham were defending. And now, Tucker Carlson, I don't know if he had an epiphany moment where he's saying that mass shooter that people are talking about white nationalism on the rise, like, oh, it's a hoax, just like the Russia thing. Was the Russia thing a hoax? And that's the problem I have, that you have a network that continue to call itself news, and that should be an issue that we should take seriously, because you cannot call a network news when you have those type of people lying to the audience. That's unacceptable, because people tune into Fox thinking, well, they're going to listen to news. They're going to listen to someone who has some sort of knowledge, at least a brand. And here's what they were listening to.
The whole thing is a lie. If you were to assemble a list, a hierarchy of concerns, of problems this country faces, where would white supremacy be on the list? Right up there with Russia, probably. It's actually not a real problem in America. The combined membership of every white supremacist organization in this country, would they be able to fit inside a college football stadium? White supremacy, that's the problem. This is a hoax. Just like the...
In 1996, a small network by the name of Fox News was launched with just 17 million viewers. Today, with over 100 million people watching regularly, Fox has become the greatest threat to our democracy, constantly bombarding the airwaves with false information, distortion of facts, and outright lies presented to its audience as news. Fox has created an army of blissful ignorance. According to a survey, 82% of Fox viewers are ignorant of facts and the truth. To keep millions of people in ignorance not only prevents democracy from flourishing, but it also clears the path to authoritarianism, to dictatorship, Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." Let me finish by saying that democracy cannot survive in an environment where truth and facts do not matter. At Fox, truth and facts do not matter. Indeed, democracy in America is in jeopardy. It is a crisis the country can no longer ignore. If you have a partner, whether it's dating, engaged, or married, who has been lying to you for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, would that be okay? Would you be okay with that? And I want you to ponder on that question. If you are an American citizen, you are a patriot, and you have an elected official who deliberately lies to you, not by accident, deliberately lies to you. Now, in the case of your partner, what exactly would you do if you find out 10, 20 years later that all this time that individual has been lying to you? Would that be okay? Now, how would that relationship progress? How would that relationship continue? Even if you decide, in the best case scenario, to stick it out, so to speak, and keep the relationship, now, would you believe a single word that person tells you afterwards? It would be really a very awkward relationship. Because everything that individual would tell you, you would have to scrutinize, you would have to figure out whether it's true, you would have to ask for proof, you would go through a process that would make the relation tiring. You see where I'm going, right? I hope so. In other words, the relation will be unbearable. It will be usually what causes divorce without accusing one another. Irreconcilable differences. Kind of a catch-all phrase. But the point is, no matter how much you try, it may not necessarily be possible to salvage that relationship. Now, let's transpose that example to you supporting the most powerful man in the nation, constantly, continuously lying to you. If that's not bad enough, you have a whole political party who has mastered the art of deception. They lie to you about every aspect of what they do or do not do. They tell you the reason we don't do anything about that those mass shooting is because we don't want those damn liberals to infringe on your Second Amendment rights. And as time went by, they come back and tell you, well, it's those people with mental illness that's causing that problem. Although, in all fairness, there were a few of those people, but the majority of mass shooting did not happen because of people with mental illness. At least not people diagnosed with mental illness. So for a while, that's what they had, that's what they tell you, and that's what they lie about. So instead of addressing the problem, now they shift the conversation so that you can think or you accept that now, oh, they know the problem, they're going to really make restriction for mentally ill people not to have access to guns. They didn't even do that. And now the conversation come back again after the El Paso and Texas and Dayton, Ohio shooting, that it's video game that's causing that. So let's not look at the gun problem. It's the video game. Those people have been watching video game, and that's what's causing the problem. You see the problem? Republican legislators, they have been lying to you on a regular basis in order not to do what they're supposed to do to protect us from the next mass shooting. They lie constantly, continuously. And the reason is because you, the constituent, continue to vote them in office no matter what happened. So you'll continue to say, it's okay for you to lie. We just fine with that. Put differently, you too are accomplices to those mass shootings in America. No, you cannot hide behind the legislators are not doing anything. You cannot hide because you are responsible for voting those people in office over and over and over. For 2 decades, you've been doing that. Then what do you expect? They're not going to do anything because that's you help them not do anything. So you cannot hide behind that you have nothing to do with that. You have everything to do with that if you are one of those constituents who continue to vote those same individuals back in office doing nothing about mass shooting in America. And let me put your mind to ease. It is exclusively Republican. Now, what makes matters worse is people like you just saw, Tucker Carlson, minimizing or simply telling you that problem doesn't exist. It's in your mind, it's in your head. It just doesn't exist. You know, those people who just got murdered, slaughtered, that was just a movie. When you wake up, you'll find out it never happened. White supremacists, what's that? It's a hoax. And that individual is getting paid to say those kind of stupidity in the air. This is what America has become. You paying an individual such as Tucker Carlson to say those kind of ridiculousness in the air on a network that calls itself News, Fox News. Which brings me to the last part of this conversation. Freedom of speech. We know in America, we love freedom of speech. We have that, and that's good for any country. No matter what you hear in terms of form of government in any country, if there is no freedom of speech, then the idea of democracy in that country is pretty much a joke. Because if the government would sanction someone because of what you say, then we have a much bigger problem, right? You see, freedom of speech gives everyone in America, anyone for that matter, the opportunity to say whatever he or she wants without any fear. We are a democracy after all, right? You can, for instance, say to someone, "You're fat, you're ugly," or even worse. Now that may be hurtful to the individual, but hey, this is a country in which you have freedom of expression. So you can say whatever you want, even if it hurts others. In fact, most politicians make a living by lying to their constituents. Republicans have become master of that. The art of deception, they have that really mastered. As you can see, Donald Trump is not the first one. Yes, he has made lying a business, a tool that he uses in everything. He doesn't open his mouth without lying. In fact, I think the sky would fall the day that Donald Trump would open his mouth and not lie. The sky would disappear. I can almost bet on that. If Donald Trump were to open his mouth one day and say something that's truthful, oh my God, Jesus is coming. Get ready. Donald Trump cannot speak the truth. But what if lying causes harm to others? Just like I showed you with Judith Miller in 2003, who lied to the rest of the country about Saddam Hussein in possession of weapon of mass destruction and got the country geared up for war. What if that is the case? Should that individual have the freedom to speak? The freedom to say those things? Whether it is intentional or unintentional. What if lying causes harm to others? Should that be sanctioned? Now think about that for just a moment before you jump and say, oh no, this is America. We have to preserve freedom of expression. What if lying causes harm to others? Now I understand why 500,000 Iraqis lost their life because of somebody, of an American who lies. I can understand why 4,500 soldiers lost their life. You may shrug it off because, well, they're member of the armed forces. They sign up for that. I can understand why you think 30,000 soldiers lost, some of them lost their limb and got injured at that war. You can shrug it off saying, hey, well, I can understand that. Can you? What if you are a member of those soldiers who lost their lives? What if you're a member of the family? What if you're the wife, the children? Do you understand that? Are you okay with that? You see where I'm going? 4,500 soldiers lost their lives because of one individual who lies to the nation about a very important fact, such as another head of state with weapons of mass destruction. A state that did not attack us, a state that did not pose us any problem, but she made the case for the country to go to war. 4,500 soldiers lost their lives. Are you okay with people lying? 30,000 soldiers, a great number of them lost their limbs. Yes, they're still alive, but they cripple. Are you okay with that? With people lying? You see, lying is dangerous. Deliberate lies causes great damage to the country. And we've seen that. Now, I asked the question, which may give pause to anyone that's listening, because you may look at it and say, no, freedom of speech has to be preserved. We cannot sanction speech. But what if lying causes harm to others? I just give you the example of an individual who lied to the nation and causes 4,500 lives here in the United States to be wasted, 30,000 people to now be crippled, and more than 500,000 people in Iraq lost their lives, civilian, because of that lie. What if lying causes harm? Well, it looks like the court says that individual should be sanctioned. Remember Alex Jones? Well, you may not know who Alex Jones is, but I'm about to tell you. He's the guy who talked a lot on InfoWar. He is the individual who for years has been saying the Sandy Hook elementary shooting was a complete hoax. He repeated it over and over. He accused the people who lost their family as actors, the kids who lost their lives as people who were put to do acting so that they can show that people got killed so that they can take your guns away. And he said that over and over and over, and finally families of the victim decided to sue him, and the court said, yes, you're guilty of that, because not only those people suffer those losses, but you've been hurting those people because you've been telling people that it was a hoax. 20 children lost their lives that day, and that fool has been saying over and over and over to an audience of almost 1 million people that it was a hoax. But we do have other precedents in this country. You cannot, in the middle of a public place, and scream and shout fire, can you? Like in a theater, for instance. You cannot do that. So which means some speech that can cause harm is sanctioned. Even in joking, you cannot talk about killing the President of the United States. You would receive a visit from Secret Service. In other words, you are sanctioned. So there are certain things you're not able to say because it causes harm. And yet, the biggest network in the United States of America, Fox Opinion, known and referred to by most as Fox News, has consistently, regularly, continuously been spewing lies to its audience. That is not right. That is just not right. That you would have a network that's called itself news, but that relies on its host only telling lies to its audience. Lies, deliberate lies, are devastating to our society. I showed to you 1,000 times in so many different ways how devastating lies can be. Your Republican legislators have been lying to you why they're not doing anything about banning assault weapons. They lied to you about that. They came from with lies after lie. Why they're not doing it? In the meantime, bodies, pile of bodies have been mounting because of mass shooting. Yes, lies, deliberate lies are devastating. We went to war with Iraq because of lies. And we have a network right here in America with people who say absolutely nothing but lies to their audience. Should that be acceptable? Should we as a country accept that a network which calls itself news continue to operate as a news organization? Should that be stripped away from Fox? Should there be penalty for news organization that deliberately tells lies? Those are not stupid arguments, because our country is going through a period that is marked almost exclusively by individuals in position of power lying to their constituent, lying to the audience, causing great harm to our nation. Should there be a price to pay?
In 1996, a small network by the name of Fox News was launched with just 17 million viewers. Today, with over 100 million people watching regularly, Fox has become the greatest threat to our democracy, constantly bombarding the airwaves with false information, distortion of facts, and outright lies presented to its audience as news. Fox has created an army of blissful ignorance. According to a survey, 82% of Fox viewers are ignorant of facts and the truth. To keep millions of people in ignorance not only prevents democracy from flourishing, but it also clears the path to authoritarianism, to dictatorship. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." Let me finish by saying that democracy cannot survive in an environment where truth and facts do not matter. At Fox, truth and facts do not matter. Indeed, democracy in America is in jeopardy. It is a crisis the country can no longer ignore.
I do hope this presentation was of some use to you. If not, you already know what to do. Send us your comment, your criticism, your suggestion. Tell us how to do it better. As I mentioned time and again, this program is not going anywhere. So you might as well help to make it better. In the meantime, should you have a particular topic you would like us to talk about, send it to us. We will research it. We will debate it right here on the Fourth Branch program, the place for common sense. I hope you can join me again tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. when we continue our conversation as to how devastating lying can be to a society. Have a wonderful afternoon. Good day.
That was an update through the prism of common sense. Join us again tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. for a full presentation. I am MD, host of the Fourth Branch program, The Place for Common Sense. Send us comments, criticism, suggestion, or simply let us know how we're doing. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful afternoon. See you next time.